For 15 years, the silence between the living and the dead was broken. It wasn't a psychic or a medium who pierced the veil. It was an ordinary nun in a quiet convent in France. And the voice that spoke to her from the other side wasn't a demon, but a soul from purgatory. A soul she knew. It revealed secrets of the afterlife that the church itself would study for decades. The most important question wasn't how this was possible, but why God allowed it. The answer changes everything you think you know about sin, suffering, and the immense power you hold in your hands right now. Her name was Sister M. D.L.C. Her life, bound by the sacred vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, was a quiet rhythm of prayer and work. In the late 1800s, within the stone walls of her French convent, each day was a near-perfect copy of the one before. There were no ghosts, no whispers in the dark. The spiritual world was something discussed in theology, a reality to be met after death, not one that interrupted your daily chores. A few months before the strange events began, another nun in her community, Sister M. G., had passed away after a long illness. She was remembered, prayed for, but her death was a normal part of life in the convent. The chapter of her life was closed. Or so everyone thought. The veil between this world and the next is meant to be absolute. But one November evening, in 1873, as Sister M. D.L.C. walked along a quiet corridor, she heard something impossible, a sigh, seemingly from the air right beside her. If you want to understand the hidden spiritual realities that surround us, make sure you subscribe, because we're going much deeper. She froze. It wasn't the wind. It was a sound of profound weariness, of sorrow. She dismissed it, perhaps as a trick of the mind, the fatigue of a long day. But it happened again, the next day. And the next. Always in the same part of the convent. The sighs soon gave way to a voice, a lamenting song that seemed to have no source. Fear began to creep in. Was she losing her mind? Was this a demonic temptation meant to disturb her peace? For 2 weeks, she endured this in silence, her prayers becoming more fervent, begging for clarity. She confided in her Mother Superior, who, wisely, advised caution. They began to pray together, asking God for a sign if this was truly from Him. One evening, as Sister M. D.L.C. prayed, the voice became clearer than ever before. It wasn't just a sound. It was a word. It was a name. It was the name of the nun who had died just a few months prior, Sister M. G. The shock was immediate. This wasn't a stranger. This was a woman she had lived with, prayed with, worked alongside. The voice explained its identity, confirming details only the two of them could have known. This was no demon. This was the soul of her departed sister. But why was she here? Why wasn't she in heaven? The soul's answer formed the basis of the next 15 years of communication. She was in purgatory, and she had a mission. God, in His infinite mercy, was allowing her to communicate with the living for 2 reasons. First, for her own relief. She needed prayers, sacrifices, and masses to shorten her time of purification. Second, and more importantly, her mission was to instruct the other nuns, and eventually the world, about the reality of purgatory, to show them how much the souls there suffer, how much they depend on our help, and how easy it is to fall into the state of purification for faults we consider minor on earth. So what is purgatory? According to the soul of Sister M. G. It is not a waiting room. It is a place of intense, active suffering. But the greatest pain is not, as is often depicted, a physical fire. The soul explained that the most agonizing torment is the temporary deprivation of the sight of God. Imagine being desperately in love, finally arriving at the wedding feast, and being held back at the door, able to hear the celebration, but unable to see the face of your beloved. That is purgatory. The soul is completely consumed with a burning love for God. It sees His perfection and its own imperfections with blinding clarity. It understands that it is not yet pure enough to enter into His presence. And this knowledge, this intense longing, is a fire of love that both purifies and torments. The soul desires this purification. It accepts it willingly, but the pain of separation is almost unbearable. It is a pain the soul on earth cannot possibly comprehend. Sister M. G. revealed something few theologians had ever detailed. Purgatory is not a single, uniform state. There are different levels, different stages of purification. She described two main areas. The first is the great purgatory, where souls suffer the most intense pains, including the pain of fire and the agonizing separation from God. This is for those who have committed serious sins that were confessed but not fully atoned for, or for those who had a deep attachment to worldly things. But then she described a second place, which she called the vestibule or the threshold. This is a place where there is no fire. The suffering is different. It is a state of longing, of waiting, of darkness, and a feeling of abandonment. Souls here may not even realize they have passed from this life. These are often the souls of those who were lukewarm, who avoided great sin, but also failed to practice great virtue. They didn't desire God ardently enough in life, and so they are left to wait, in a state of spiritual exile, until that fire of divine love is finally kindled in their hearts. This is perhaps the most chilling part of the revelations. Why was Sister M. G., a devout nun, in purgatory for so long? Her faults were not murder or theft. The soul revealed that she was suffering for things we might dismiss as trivial. Sins against charity were a major cause, idle chatter that bordered on gossip, internal judgments against her sisters, a lack of kindness in her thoughts. Another was spiritual laziness. She had performed her religious duties, but sometimes without heart, without fervor. It was a routine, not a passionate act of love for God. She also suffered for moments of vanity and self-love, being too attached to her own opinion or her own comfort. These small threads, woven together over a lifetime, created a fabric that was not yet pure enough for heaven. It's a terrifying warning. God takes our every thought, word, and deed seriously. The casual unkindness, the lazy prayer, the moment of pride, they all have eternal weight. But the message was not one of despair. It was a call to action. Sister M. G. constantly emphasized how much the souls in purgatory depend on us, the living. They are powerless to help themselves. They are the church suffering while we are the church militant, and we have an arsenal of spiritual weapons. The single most powerful prayer, she explained, is the holy sacrifice of the Mass. A single Mass offered for a soul has more value than 1,000 personal prayers. Why? Because it is the perfect prayer of Christ Himself, offered to the Father. After the Mass, the Rosary and the Stations of the Cross are incredibly powerful. But she also spoke of small things, giving alms, enduring a small annoyance with patience, speaking a kind word when you don't feel like it, even offering a glass of water for the love of God. All of these, when offered up for the souls in purgatory, can bring them immense relief and shorten their time of trial. For 15 years, this communication continued. Sister M. D.L. C., under the instruction of her spiritual director, meticulously recorded everything the soul told her. This wasn't a private fantasy. It was a documented spiritual event. The resulting manuscript was not published lightly. It was submitted to rigorous theological examination. Theologians pored over every word, checking it for any contradiction with church doctrine. They found none. In fact, they found it to be a profound and orthodox explanation of the state of purgatory. The manuscript received an imprimatur and nihil obstat, the official declarations by the Catholic Church that a book is free from doctrinal or moral error. This wasn't just a nun's story anymore. It was a church-approved private revelation, considered worthy of belief. Which brings us back to the central question. Why did God allow this? Why choose this simple nun to receive such an extraordinary mission? The answer lies in God's mercy. He didn't do it to scare us, but to awaken us. In a world that was becoming increasingly secular, forgetting the reality of the afterlife, God sent a powerful reminder. He wanted to show the world that life doesn't end at death, that our choices matter, and that the bond of love between the living and the dead is real and powerful. He chose a humble soul to deliver this message precisely because she was unremarkable. It proved the message was not from her, but from him. For 15 years, she became a bridge between two worlds, a living testament to the fact that our prayers are heard on the other side. What do you think is the most forgotten truth about the afterlife? Let me know in the comments below.